Hey there dog lovers, it's Zach from the Pampered Pup. In this video I'm going to do a comparison of Nom Nom and Spot and Tango's fresh dog food recipes. I'm going to see how these foods compare in terms of the quality, that is how they smell, how they look, how they taste, and I'm going to eat them right here on camera. We'll also look at how convenient they are for the pet owners, things like managing your subscription, how fast the shipping is, how the food itself is packaged, and lastly I'll compare these fresh dog foods on cost. And I've done the calculations to make sure we're doing this in a fair way. If you're just looking for that quick answer, I'll do my best to sum it up. Spot and Tango is probably the better choice if you're the kind of person who will not compromise on quality. Their fresh dog food's loaded with delicious proteins, and their kitchens are probably a little more controlled. If you're looking for value in fresh dog food, then Nom Nom's an excellent choice. It's absolutely delicious food, and it comes in quite a bit cheaper than Spot and Tango. We'll see just how much cheaper in just a bit. The Farmer's Dog kind of bridges the gap between these two brands, so they might be worth checking out as well. I'll leave a little thing right here that you can click to watch my Farmer's Dog review. If you do decide to choose Nom Nom or Spot and Tango for your pup, make sure to use my links in the description of this video to get access to the best deal that I currently know of. Right now you can save 50% off your first box with Nom Nom, and I believe it's 20% with your first box on Spot and Tango. But I'll always keep those links updated with the best deal that I currently have my hands on. So now let's dive into this Nom Nom versus Spot and Tango comparison, and first we'll see how they stack up on quality. So let's see how Nom Nom and Spot and Tango compare on quality. The first thing I do when evaluating any fresh dog food's quality is look at the appearance. How do the recipes look? Are they something that I'd be interested in eating? Do they look like dog food? So we'll start with the beef recipes from each of these companies, and I have on your right here the beef mash from Nom Nom, and on your left the beef and millet from Spot and Tango. So when you look at these up close, right away what is striking is that Nom Nom's recipes have really large chunks of the ingredients. The big cubes of potato, big cubes of carrot, pieces of scrambled egg, nice chunks of meat, even though it's ground meat in this case. On the other hand, Spot and Tango has smaller chunks of the ingredients, although they still have chunks of they have whole peas, they have carrots, and the meat itself tends to be a little bit more finely cut up, or ground in this case. It's not quite a paste like you do see with some fresh dog food brands, but notably smaller chunks than you see with Nom Nom. Although historically I've said that the larger chunks in Nom Nom's recipes tend to give it a leg up, and I think in this case it really comes down to the green color in the peas. You can see that Spot and Tango's greens are really deep, really vibrant, whereas Nom Nom's peas are a little bit more dull. And as a result, Spot and Tango just looks a little bit more fresh, a little bit more appetizing. So while both of these recipes look good, I'd say Spot and Tango's beef and millet recipe gets the point in this case. So now let's look at the poultry recipes. I'm going to compare Nom Nom's chicken cuisine with Spot and Tango's turkey and red quinoa. Hopefully that's close enough for you guys. So right off the bat with Nom Nom, what you see is nice large chunks of the ingredients. There's big pieces of chicken tissue, there's cubes of sweet potato, I think that's summer squash, maybe something else, I could be wrong. And on the other hand, with Spot and Tango's turkey recipe, once again, I right away noticed the vibrant greens of the peas, but generally there's less large chunks of the ingredients. The turkey is more ground up, more finely ground up. Again, not quite a paste or anything bad like that. And the food does look nice and firm, doesn't look overly sloppy or anything like that, so that's definitely a plus. This one's a little bit tougher for me to call, and I think if Nom Nom had included some dull peas in there, it would have been an easier call to make. In this case, I'm going to say both of these look great. They both have a lot of good things going for them. I'm going to call it a draw. So I would say with the poultry recipes, there's no clear winner in terms of appearance, but in the case of the beef recipes, I can give that point to Spot and Tango. So now I'm going to evaluate the smell of these recipes, and we'll start with the poultry here. So I have Nom Nom's chicken cuisine on your right and Spot and Tango's turkey with red quinoa on your left. Try the Nom Nom first here. That smells really nice. What's most prominent is the smell of the sweet potatoes. It's definitely an appetizing flavor. There are no off flavors or anything like that. They're nothing heavy. And beyond that, I don't really smell much. It's really, the sweet potato is the most dominant. You can perhaps smell the chicken there a little bit too. But let's try the Spot and Tango's turkey with red quinoa recipe now. So Spot and Tango's turkey with red quinoa does smell a little bit strong. There may be some smell from the grains there, but generally speaking, it's pretty clean. It smells fairly appetizing. Doesn't smell like I shouldn't eat it. Doesn't smell off-putting, anything like that. And neither of these smell like dog food. That said, of the poultry recipes, I can concretely say that I prefer the smell of Nom Nom's chicken cuisine here. Now let's compare Nom Nom's beef mash with Spot and Tango's beef and millet. And I'll smell Nom Nom first. That smells clean. It smells like beef. Perhaps getting a little scent of the carrot. Not much else going on there. It's a pretty basic smell, pretty unoffensive, and definitely, no off-putting smells or anything like that there. Let's compare that with the beef and millet here. That one smells just a tad more pure, very similar actually, just a tad more pure. You can definitely smell the beef, and I think they're very similar, very comparable, but I would say that Spot and Tango gets a slight upper hand there. So unfortunately that puts us at a complete draw in the smell department. But more importantly, let's see how these recipes taste. I'm gonna start with the poultry, because that's a more delicate flavor. So first I'll try Nom Nom's chicken cuisine here. So that tastes really clean. It has a nice sweetness to it from the sweet potatoes. And I'm remembering now why I love the nice chunks of ingredients in Nom Nom's recipes. They're such a pleasure to eat. The way you can feel your teeth sinking through the individual ingredients really adds to the eating experience. And when you pair that with a clean flavor profile and fresh tasting vegetables, it's really a delicious fresh dog food. Let's see how Spot and Tango's turkey and red quinoa recipe compares. And that's really nice as well. The textures definitely don't stack up to what you're getting with Nom Nom, but the textures are still nice. The grains provide a nice chew and it's all tender. What really cuts through in flavor with Spot and Tango's turkey recipe is the flavor of the quinoa, I believe. It's a bit of a toasty or a nutty flavor. It's very interesting, and it's definitely the most powerful element in the flavor profile, but I don't think it's quite as delicious as that sort of sweet potato flavor that you're getting with Nom Nom's chicken cuisine recipe. But both of these taste very good, and Spot and Tango's recipe tastes very clean. Nom Nom definitely takes the upper hand in the flavor department with the poultry recipes. So let's move on to the beef recipes, and I'll start with Nom Nom's beef mash. So that's very good. It tastes just like the pure ingredients. And once again, really where Nom Nom hits home is with the texture. Those large chunks of ingredients carry a lot of weight in making this an absolutely delicious dog food. So let's see how Spot and Tango's beef and millet compares. That tastes very good as well. It tastes very clean, very pure. It has a decent texture, though it's not anything like the large chunks you're getting with Nom Nom, but there's a nice bite to it, a pleasure to eat. The flavors are probably a little more complex than Spot and Tango's recipe here, for sure. That is, there's a little bit more going on. It might be a little more interesting. This is a really tough call for me. I think there's a lot going for both of these recipes. At the end of the day, I think the beef recipes are a bit of a tie for me. I think there's definitely aspects of Nom Nom's beef mash that are quite desirable, and aspects of Spot and Tango's beef and millet that are quite desirable as well. Hard to say for sure. We'll call that one a tie, and actually, if we look at the poultry score, overall, I'm going to say Nom Nom wins in the flavor department. Just a few more things about what goes into these recipes before we move on. First of all, how many recipes do they have? Nom Nom offers 4 recipes, whereas Spot and Tango offers 3. The recipes from both of these companies are nutritionally balanced and complete so that they comply with the standards set by AAFCO. While Nom Nom's recipes are formulated by board-certified veterinary nutritionists, Spot and Tango's recipes are formulated by a PhD in veterinary nutrition. So similar enough in that regard. One area of distinction is that while Spot and Tango is made in USDA kitchens, Nom Nom's recipes are made using USDA grade A ingredients, but not necessarily a USDA kitchen. Safety practices with Spot and Tango's food might be a little bit higher. And Spot and Tango notes that their foods are GMO and hormone-free, which is a nice touch, I think. And in terms of nutrition, I tend to look at the protein content more than anything, and there's really a stark difference here. Nom Nom's recipes range from about 7 to 10% protein as fed, whereas Spot and Tango's come in at 12 to 14%, which is really quite high. Nom Nom's are a little bit lower than what you tend to see across fresh dog food brands, not by much, but Spot and Tango is definitely on the higher end. So not only does that mean that Spot and Tango is going to have more proteins that your dog can build muscle tissue with, but it also is going to have an impact on cost. We'll get to that in just a bit. But for now, let's dive into the convenience of these services for pet owners. Both of these fresh dog food brands do require you to have a subscription in order to purchase food for your pup. However, just like almost every other fresh dog food brand out there, it's as easy as can be to cancel your subscription whenever you want. You just go into your account dashboard on their website and click a few buttons to answer a few questions, and in a matter of seconds, your subscription's canceled. No further shipments, no further bills. In terms of shipping speed, I placed my order with Nom Nom on a Friday night, and they told me right away that my order would be there on the following Saturday. It ended up being delayed on the shipper's end, and it didn't get there until the following Monday. But either way you look at it, that's 5 business days between when I placed my order and when I received the shipment on my porch. With Spot and Tango, I placed my order on a Sunday, and I received my shipment on the following Thursday. So it's only 3 business days between placing my order and receiving the shipment. So Spot and Tango is definitely a bit faster, and worth noting is that even with that shipping delay on the shipper's end, Nom Nom's food was still frozen. The dry ice was all gone, but it was still frozen. So these fresh dog food shipments are packed really, really well. Both of these companies pack their shipments with completely recyclable materials, so all you have to do is put it in your recycling bin when you're done. And in terms of how they package the food itself, these companies are really quite similar. Both of them vacuum seal their patties in plastic with easy peel tabs, so they're nice and easy to open. No need to get any scissors dirty, anything like that. Nom Nom packed my meals in 400 gram patties, or just under a pound, whereas Spot and Tango packed my meals in 230 gram patties, or right about a half a pound. Either way, it's not a ton of dog food to defrost each time, so you don't have to really worry about it going bad in the fridge. And then speaking of which, when it comes time to serving your dog, all you have to do is defrost these foods overnight in the fridge. And once thawed, Nom Nom's meals keep in the fridge for up to 7 days, whereas Spot and Tango's keep in the fridge for only 4 days. So a little bit longer shelf life on Nom Nom once thawed there. And last but not least, let's talk about how much these dog foods cost. This might be the biggest deciding factor out there for many people. I always compare the cost of fresh dog food on a dollars per pound basis to help keep things fair when comparing across brands. When they give you a price quote on a dollars per week basis, what you have to realize is that the different dog food brands are calculating your dog's nutritional requirements in a different way. And as a result, they're giving you different amounts of food with each plan. So to keep things fair, dollars per pound makes more sense to me. My calculations put Nom Nom's fresh dog food at about $4 per pound, which is about as cheap as it gets in the world of fresh dog food. On the other hand, my calculations put Spot and Tango at $9 per pound, so that's more than twice the price of Nom Nom. Of course, you're getting quite a bit more protein with Spot and Tango those recipes, and protein is usually the most expensive component in food. Spot and Tango is also cooking their meals in USDA kitchens, so that extra level of care is probably going to cost a little bit more at the end of the day. So it all makes sense. If you're interested in something that kind of bridges the gap between these two, you might want to check out the Farmer's Dog. Their food is excellent and the price is a little bit cheaper than Spot and Tango. But if you do decide to choose Nom Nom or Spot and Tango for your dog, remember to use my links in the description of this video to get the best discount that I currently have access to. Right now that's 50% off your first order with Nom Nom, and I think 20% off your first order with Spot and Tango, but I'll always keep those up to date. Best of luck finding a delicious tasting dog food for your pup.